I'm here because our fearless leader Lenny Orenya asked me to step in and to give an introduction to our speaker, our next speaker, and I was happy to do this. I've been very happy ever since I've known that Georges Fouron was going to come to speak to us today, and I think that the best way for me to introduce him is to share with you the way that I met him. And of course, he wasn't there when I met him. I met him actually personally today for the first time, but I met him for the first time by reading the book Georges Woke Up Laughing, which he wrote together with Nina Glickschiller, and which came out in 2001. And on the very first page of Georges Woke Up Laughing, the book begins with a dream, which is recounted in the first person by Georges. And I'll quote from the dream. "In my dream, I was young and in Haiti and with my friends, laughing, joking, and having a wonderful time. I was walking down the main street of my hometown, Oké, and the sun was shining, the streets were clean, and the port was bustling with ships. At first, I was laughing because of the feeling of happiness that stayed with me, even after I woke up. I tried to explain my wonderful dream to my wife, Rolande. Then I laughed again, but this time not from joy. I had been dreaming about a Haiti that never was." Thus, we are introduced to the book, which, by the way, is a wonderfully thoughtful account of the complicated relationship between Haitians living abroad and Haiti, through Georges' own personal experience of that relationship. Although it was very much in vogue in the 1990s to predict the demise of the nation-state in the face of capital flows, migration, and technological advance, Fouron and Glickschiller argued in this book that far from participating in the winnowing away of the nation, Haitians abroad remained deeply connected to the idea of the nation, and the project, incidentally, of the nation-state. And this was true even though, as illustrated by Georges' dream, the nation-state that they dreamed was responsible to its citizenry. The nation-state that they dreamed of was responsible to its citizenry in a way that no nation-state in Haiti had ever been. Nationalism at a distance, as they described it, was complicated then not only by the terms on which Haitians were incorporated into the United States as black immigrants, but also by the ongoing history of empire and by the stark dysfunction of the Haitian state. The result was an experimental style that really works very beautifully in the classroom, but that also gives the reader a remarkable insight into Georges himself, and this gets back to the introduction. This is my introduction to Georges Fouron. In addition to a scholar and professor of education of the social sciences at the State University of New York of Stony Brook, you can tell already from this quote that he's a migrant who is able to marvel at his own experience and interpret it in the context of a broader world. He's a scholar, one comes to understand, who is both delighted by an image of Haiti that comes to him as he sleeps, and able to laugh at the tragedy of the disparity between his own dream and the reality of Haiti that he visits. One suspects that this laughter became harder to muster in some moments in the years since 2001, and in other moments perhaps became slightly more hopeful. We can look forward to Dr. Fouron's new book, Haiti's Migratory Streams at the Crossroads of Global Capitalism, which is now, we hope, coming out with Penn State Press. But it must have been particularly difficult, after all, to laugh at the predicament of Haitian identity abroad and the failure of the Haitian nation-state on the morning of January 12, 2010. And this is why we feel very fortunate today, not only to get to meet Georges Fouron in person, but to hear him speak to us on the ways that the earthquake literally shook the relationship between the Haitian diaspora and the dream of a responsible state in Haiti. So help me to welcome Georges Fouron.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for inviting me. I will address the relationship, as you mentioned, between Haitian immigrants in the United States, most especially, and the aftermath of the earthquake. And the title of my presentation is "We Need a Responsible State in Haiti," in quotation marks. And I will begin again with my own personal experience after the earthquake on January 12, 2010. On January 12, 2010, around 6 p.m., as I turned the TV on to the local ABC station to watch the evening news, I was greeted with a news alert to the effect that an earthquake of significant magnitude had hit Port-au-Prince, Haiti's capital. Initially, details about the seism were sketchy and imprecise. Having no permanent reporters stationed in Haiti, The station could only offer second-hand accounts of the tremor's impact and speculations about the damages it had caused. The moment I heard the news, my first natural reaction was to worry about the safety of my relatives in Haiti, to assure that they had not been harmed, but also to receive first-hand accounts of the event and to secure information about the magnitude of the seism. I tried to contact them by phone. My numerous attempts at reaching them were in vain, since telephone connections with Haiti, already difficult in normal times, had been totally disrupted. Profoundly emotional and extremely worried, I turned to CNN to have more information about the earthquake and its repercussions. Alas, to my great disappointment, the same situation prevailed. It was impossible to obtain any first-hand account of the earthquake and its aftermath from Haiti. However, as CNN promised to dispatch a crew to Port-au-Prince without delay to bring direct reporting of the catastrophe to its audience, and as it engaged a number of experts to assess and analyze the situation, I remained glued to the station. Late that night, around 9 o'clock, as promised, CNN began broadcasting the first live pictures of the cataclysm. As the station proceeded to report images of the devastating effects of the quake and those of the victims' despair and emotional distress, I vainly tried to make sense of what I was watching. Strangely enough, however, it was when the camera zoomed in on the National Palace that I broke down emotionally. To my horror and great consternation, the magnificent and gleaming white neoclassical building, the home of the Haitian head of state, and one of the most revered emblems of the country, but most importantly, one of the most positive and most uplifting symbols of the Haitian nation, was in ruins, irreparably broken down and forever shattered. It was at that moment that I understood the full impact of the seism and took stock of what had occurred in Port-au-Prince and its surrounding areas. Dismayed and distraught, I uttered in a loud voice to no one in particular, in Haitian Creole, "Bon Dieu papa, mon palais a tombé." God Almighty, the palace has fallen down. Unconsciously, I have to say, at that moment, I construed the destruction of the National Palace as a very bad omen for the future of the Haitian nation. Symbols and rituals in Haitian life. Because of the precariousness of their existence, the daily life of the Haitians is steeped in rituals and symbols. For example, even the poorest and least literate of Haitians are able to reference a plethora of past historical events adorned with phantasmagoric myths and heightened jingoistic representations they use as conduits to express their often exalted patriotic and nationalist emotions. For most Haitians, even when their behavior and actions belied these patriotic and nationalist sentiments, the national anthem, the flag, the public monuments, the country's heroic and epic past, and the relatively imposing state offices are parts of the corpus of symbols, rituals, and traditional law they use to proclaim their attachment to and pride in the nation. Among those, the gleaming all-white National Palace was one of the most emblematic and pervasive representation of modern Haiti. Designed in 1912, inaugurated in 1920 during the U.S. occupation of the country, it was the accomplishment of a Haitian architect named Georges Bossan, who had studied under the guidance of Le Corbusier, the world-renowned French architect. Twice the size of the U.S. White House, the National Palace was the pride of a country that had not had much to showcase and celebrate. As a result, together with Christophe Citadel Mythically, the National Palace was the public building that had been so profoundly seared in the psyche and memory of the Haitians that it had become the national symbol of which they could be most proud. It was for that reason that I was so shocked and dismayed by its destruction. However, it only took me a few seconds after equating the destruction of the palace to the impending death of the nation to understand that in some strange and peculiar way, I had become very emotional about the destruction of a building and had shown more concern and consideration for the survival of the apparatus of the state than for the misfortune that had befallen upon the population. I also began to question my knee-jerk reaction of downheartedness and my concern and care for a place that was famous for harboring the most retrograde and repressive institution in the country, the Haitian state, and for shielding a totally corrupt and inept cohort of leaders who have never acted responsibly towards the people and the nation. Yet, despite being fully aware of the venality and viciousness of the Haitian leaders, the total neglect of the population, and the continued deterioration of the quality of life in Haiti, I could not help mourning its demolition. What is even stranger is that as I recounted my reaction to the destruction of the palace to other Haitian expatriates, they told me that they had experienced the same feelings. These feelings for national and historical landmarks should not be considered as a strange and peculiar reactions of nostalgic immigrants who yearn for a mythical place to validate their essence and humanity. It is more than that. As Roland Barthes has so aptly explicated it, myths and symbols are so important that they often play the role of unifying national themes. In his seminal book, Mythologies, he argued that, quote, myth is depoliticized speech. It has the task of giving a historical intention a natural justification and making contingency appear eternal. Myth does not deny things. On the contrary, its function is to talk about them. Simply, it purifies them. It makes them innocent. It gives them a natural and eternal justification. It gives them a clarity which is not that of an explanation, but that of a statement of fact. In passing from history to nature, myth acts economically. It abolishes the complexity of human acts. It gives them the simplicity of essences. It does away with all dialectics, with any going back beyond what is immediately visible. It organizes a world which is without contradictions because it is without depth. A world wide open and wallowing in the evident. It establishes a blissful clarity. Things appear to mean something by themselves. My reaction to the destruction of the National Palace can be seen as a metaphor of my transnational identity, a strategy that allows me and many immigrants like me to maintain relationship with more than one state. Through my 40 years living outside of Haiti, the National Palace and other similar patriotic symbols that have been imprinted in my psyche have provided me with a seemingly factual representation of the Haitian state and the Haitian nation, and have allowed me to objectify and concretize my continued attachment to my homeland, even though, as a U.S. citizen, I'm fully embedded in the United States socio-political life. Yet, while I have remained attached and committed to Haiti and its people, and have never considered abandoning my homeland, I cannot enjoy any political right in Haiti, and I'm considered an alien and a white person when I visit there, since the country does not extend the privileges of double citizenship and or nationality to those Haitian expatriates who have sworn allegiance to other nations. Despite these limitations, however, through years of frustration with the Haitian leaders' disappointing stewardship, like many other Haitian expatriates, I have remained a transborder citizen. I practice long-distance patriotism, and together with many other immigrants, I continue to speak on behalf of Haiti, and I militate in all possible ways to bring the Haitian state to act responsibly towards its constituents so that Haiti can finally be lifted up to the of a true nation state. These sentiments are not mine alone. Long after they had migrated, like many immigrants from countries around the world are doing it, many immigrant expatriates keep their affective attachment to the homeland, challenging in the process the sanctioned and prescriptive concept of nation-state social membership formation in immigrant-receiving societies. However, these immigrants' continued emotive allegiance to their native country does not exist only in the domain of the imagination and sentiment. It also leads to specific actions. For, while they participate in all the facets of the host nation's socio-political life from afar, as long-distance patriots, they also play an important role in the homeland's daily life activities. Not only do they send remittances, goods of all sorts, and food to support those who are left behind, they seek to have a voice in the affairs of the homeland as well. To do so, they use both national and transnational organizing to effectuate changes in their native land civil society and regularly critique Haiti's habitus of governance with the implied intention of helping to improve life conditions there. As Professor Fouron describes it in his book, Haiti's Predatory Republic, The Unending Transition to Democracy, in the realm of Haitian politics, predominates la politique du ventre, the politics of the belly, as he said this morning. Haitian politicians practice, he continues to write, a form of governability based on the acquisition of personal wealth through the conquest of state offices. In a country where destitution is the norm and private avenues to wealth are rare, politics become an entrepreneurial vocation, virtually the sole means of material and social advancement for those not born into wealth and privilege. Controlling the state turns into a zero-sum game, a fight to the death to monopolize the sinecure of political power. The tragedy of Haiti's systemic foundation is that it literally eats the decency and humanity of perfectly honest men and women, transforming them into grands mangeurs, big eaters, a rapacious species of office holders who devour public resources for the exclusive private gains. Rather than inviting moral redemption, the immense poverty plaguing the country has generated a generalized pattern of callous indifference and thoroughly individualistic sauve-qui-peut, every man for himself attitude. At the same time that they condemn the politicians for their misguided actions, the Haitian immigrants also criticize the actions and practices of the Haitian financial and intellectual elite classes, who more often than not collaborate with the venal and corrupt political leaders to plunder state resources and oppress the population. The Haitian economic elites are descendants of Europeans, mostly German and French, who in the mid to late 1800s came to Haiti as immigrants. Subsequently, at the beginning of the 20th century, a significant migration of Syrian, Lebanese, and Palestinian Christian Arabs, expelled from the Middle East by the Ottoman Empire, also migrated to Haiti. Both groups became involved in the import-export and retail businesses by selling coffee, sugar, and tropical products to Europe and the United States, and buying consumer goods from abroad for local consumption. When they first arrived in Haiti, These expatriates kept a low profile. Fearing retribution and deportation as quote-unquote white foreigners, they did not openly participate in politics, preferring instead to manipulate power behind the scene by bankrolling the ambitions of black politicians of all stripes, leanings, and tendencies, helping them to be elected to the leadership of the country or to seize power in various coups d'etat, improperly called revolutions. To assure that whoever acceded to power, they would share the spoils of their victory, the economic elite equally funded the initiatives and endeavors of opposing sides. Once power had been secured by either one of the parties, they moved in to collect their dues, keep the office holders hostage, and run the country from behind the scene. Known in Haiti as la politique de doublure, or politics by understudy, this practice was also used to protect and defend the economic elite's interests exclusively. Actually, Haitians often refer to the financial elite as the BAM or Bam Bam, a moniker that they had invented by selecting the first letters of the family's name of each of the 6 richest families in Haiti. However, the sobriquet is more than a name designation. It is meant to describe the greed and avarice and rapacity of that class, since Bam Bam in Haitian Creole signifies give me, give me. In 1946, to weaken the reach and power of the traditional elite, a group of black intellectuals sought to put an end to the politique of doublure by capturing power on behalf of what they referred to as la classe. However, since that new black elite had no financial capital of its own, it soon allied itself with the traditional economic bourgeoisie. It became as predatory, voracious, vicious, and reckless as the preceding one had been. Through the years, the traditional Haitian elite became so corrupt and unpatriotic that it was designed as the MRIs by a U.S. ambassador to Haiti. The initial MRI does not stand for meal ready to eat, however. Rather, it stands for, quote, morally repugnant elites. Yet, in spite of this ignominious designation, the Americans have nonetheless continued to work and collaborate with them. The transmigrants' nation-building ideologies. To transform their homeland's normative political habits of governability, many Haitian immigrants have taken the initiative of exposing and denouncing the state of affairs in Haiti. In addition, through many endeavors and initiatives they have undertaken in Haiti proper, they have sought to bypass the government to provide aid and assistance directly to the population. Moreover, they seek to improve the homeland's international image, strive to defend its integrity as a putatively sovereign nation, and take appropriate actions to protect it against threats from abroad. In the end, instead of becoming uprooted individuals who become fully and totally embedded in the host country's polity by cutting all ties with their native land as Handling envisaged it, they become transmigrants. Transmigrants are immigrant populations that practice decentered attachments to state and nations. They live their lives and actualize their behaviors, ignoring the limitations and hindrances of political boundaries by evolving in transnational social fields. These transnational social fields are imagined spaces that integrate the social and political dynamics of 2 or more nation states. Within these fields, they reconstruct their lives and evolve simultaneously in many socio-political terrains that are reconstructed as homes. From the transmigrant's perspective, home is not a single place located in an exclusive nation limited by its political, legal, and physical boundaries. Rather, life here implies a connection there as well. As they build a future in the host society, They also reconstruct in their imagining a place for themselves and their progenies in the homeland. Also, as they seek to find their place in the host society, and as they participate in the struggles of the home nation's population for social justice, they express solidarity with the homeland sedentary population, become engaged in their daily struggles, and show concerns for the native land's negative representation by the global media. To legitimize their claim upon the society they have left by migrating, and to justify their continued connection to its population, they use the metaphor of blood, which they describe as a bonding ingredient so powerful that mere physical distances and symbolic acts, such as taking another nationality, are rendered impotent to weaken and subvert the ties that keep them attached to their homeland. In addition to blood, they also use their common African descent, their fierce attachment to the land, their shared epic history, their proud heritage, but most especially their mutual sufferings as the ties that continue to bind them to their native land and its populations. The population left behind in their homeland also participate in the dynamics of those social fields. As the transmigrants reach out to them, they also reach out to the expatriates by reconnecting their social networks and by reconstituting a new sense of peoplehood and nationhood that incorporates their country to other political entities most have never visited and probably never will. Like the transmigrants, the sedentary populations utilize the same metaphors of blood, common history, African descent, and miseries to legitimize and maintain their ties to the Haitian diasporic populations for affective, most especially for utilitarian reasons. Through these transnational connections, the sedentary populations not only celebrate their common history and sense of continued peoplehood with the Haitian expatriates. Through the financial support they receive from abroad, they are also able to build better housing, provide an education for their children, attend to their health, sustain a wide family network, and even improve their social standing. By intensifying the affective linkages through nation-states and by expanding the social relations across boundaries, the transmigrants and the left-behind population bridge the physical chasm that separates their native land and the place of settlement, reconstituting these socio-political entities as deterritorialized nation-states. To construct such a rapprochement, they place Haiti in the place of settlement and make the host nation present in Haiti as well. These new transnational initiatives resonate well with many immigrant exporting countries which have adopted policies to reincorporate their expatriate populations into their bounded polity long after they had left, through extending dual nationality and citizenship to them. For a time, the Haitian state tried to do exactly that. Eager to reconnect Haiti with the Haitian immigrant communities abroad, during the 1990s, the Aristide regime symbolically reattached them to the territorial Haitian nation when these communities were referred to as the 10th Department to complement the nation's nine geographical, political, and administrative divisions. However, despite that rapprochement, the proposed reunification was never consummated. It remained only a perfunctory act without any official sanction. While the immigrants were being encouraged to keep their erstwhile national identity, in reality they were being courted mostly for their financial capabilities and also for their capacities to voice and denounce the misguided and nefarious strictures of the neoliberal policies and demands the dominant powers and the international lending institutions were imposing on Haiti, its population, and its economy. Actually, At the same time that the transmigrants are being asked to remain connected to the homeland and its population, pervades a sense of foreboding if they choose to return home. Although not openly expressed and not officially sanctioned, there is a widespread fear in Haiti to the effect that if the immigrants were allowed to enjoy the benefits of double citizenship and or nationality, they being better educated and having more financial resources than the sedentary population, would introduce in the country new form of national narratives and understandings that would sideline the non-immigrant population. As a result, the immigrants' plea for effective and real incorporation into the framework of the Haitian nation have been met with widespread opposition from a significant sector of the sedentary Haitian population, have been blocked by the Haitian legislature, and have met with benign neglect by the same government that had invented the 10-department concept. In reality, what many sectors of the Haitian public and the government fear, if they are allowed to enjoy the full rights as Haitians, many Haitian immigrants, together with those expatriates who had acquired foreign nationalities, would soon emerge as a new powerful elite that would continue the tradition of graft and corruption by monopolizing and controlling most of the country's resources. For, as Alejandro Portes has so aptly put it, quote, while the original wave of the transmigrant transnational activities may be economic and effective, and that the initiators can be properly labeled transnational entrepreneurs, subsequent activities encompass political, social, and cultural pursuits that may subvert the established social order and displace significant sectors of the sedentary population. As underground, the Haitian transmigrants as long-distance patriots, as underground roots that reach out far from the tree trunk to seek and bring nourishment to the branches above, from the host states, the transnational immigrant social networks penetrate deep into the native land. Such connections are very important. As they make inroad into the homeland, they not only help sustain and strengthen the patterns of interconnection that had been established between the mother country and the immigrant communities abroad, they also facilitate the immigrants' multiple efforts at reincorporation into the mainstream society of the country of origin communities to give meaning to their immigrant lives and nourish their dreams, albeit often elusive, of an eventual resettlement in the native land. To signal their intention of coming back home, they acquire properties, build houses, erect their final resting place there, and even speak on behalf of the native land while preparing for a return home that may be realized only after their death, or that may never become a reality. For deep down, most transmigrants know that a true and definitive return migration is not possible and feasible because the homeland has not been made ready yet to receive them. Yet, despite the adversities the homeland and its population continue to experience, in the immigrants' imagining, the native land remains the ideal place they had set aside as a lieu de mémoire by promoting the heroism of their ancestors, and a lieu de refuge when they look for solace when life becomes difficult and unbearable in the place of settlement. Beyond continued affective and sentimental connection with the homeland's population, helping their relatives and friends they have left behind, carving a space for their eventual resettlement there, and acquiring rights in the host society, the Haitian transmigrants also yearn to help in the renewal of the homeland through exporting the nation-building ideologies there to change and transform its traditional practices of governance. In so doing, they become long-distance patriots. By bringing together into a single sphere of actions the immigrants and their descendants on the one hand, and the left population on the other, long-distance patriots participate in nation-building projects that contain multiple political agendas that span the homeland and the host country's civil societies. While they engage in the fight against all manifestations of racism, exclusion, marginalization, and oppression in the host societies, they respond to the desperate calls of their former fellow citizens to help rebuild the homeland by contributing to the challenges the left-behind populations seek to mete out against political impunity and economic exploitation in their homeland. As they imagine Haiti as a place where they intend to retire when they can no longer work, or a haven to seek temporary or permanent refuge at times when the pressure of immigrant life are too difficult to bear, they use a politics of mental exit to convince themselves that the discrimination they experience in the host society is only temporary and situational, and that they have the capacity to escape from it by returning home. Comparing the Caribbean immigrants' attitude vis-a-vis the vicissitudes blacks experience in America with those of the native-born African-American population, Mary Waters observed in Black Identities, West Indian Immigrant Dreams in American Reality that, quote, in psychological terms, West Indians often deal with the stigmatized nature of the black race in American society through a strategy of exit rather than voice. Black Americans generally perceive little possibility for individuals to succeed by exiting the category of black people, and thus tend to develop a collective strategy to give voice to the lack of equality. West Indians, especially in the first generation, and especially when they first arrive, believe that by evoking their foreign status, working hard, avoiding racialism, and challenging true racism with loud cries of protest when it does occur, they can exit from the stigmatized black category. In the end, end of quote. In the end, like the other Caribbean immigrants, the Haitian transmigrants use an exit strategy at the individual level to deal with racism, and a voice strategy at the larger political level when they feel they can really make a difference. This dual possibility eludes the native-born blacks who can only use a voice and not an exit strategy. To render the exit strategy effective, the long-distance patriots often claim they long to see their native land achieve economic self-sufficiency, modernity, democratic rule, true national sovereignty, and political autonomy to fit their aspirations and agendas. Most especially, however, they postulate that they yearn to see its population enjoy economic prosperity and financial independence by bringing the Haitian state and its elites to act responsibly towards the citizenry. To transform Haiti into a responsible state, they seek to export to Haiti the discourses, concepts, and practices of democracy and state responsibility and accountability to which they have become accustomed in the host nation. To do so, they have become engaged in transnational social movements that seek to change our homeland social status quo, the political habitus of the Haitian state, and the practices of the elite classes. In the end, although they live far from Haiti, the transmigrants are not mere sideline spectators, consumers of news and information, and impotent observers of Haiti's political episodes. From the outposts in the host societies, they labor hard to transform their homeland structures of governance, quote, to make the country work, unquote. For example, as the Haitian transmigrants that have set roots in the United States become embedded into its social and political life, they acquire a new political habitus reoriented more toward the concept of governments behaving as responsible political entities that have pledged to commit themselves to serving the needs of their populations. That agenda for social justice, which requires fundamental changes in Haitian politics to become a reality, is